A.D. 1999. He giveth more grace as our burdens grow greater. He sendeth more strength as our labors increase. He added, or to added affliction, he addeth his mercy. To multiplied trials, he multiplies peace. His love has no limits. His grace has no measure. No boundary unto men. For out of his infinite riches in Jesus, he giveth and giveth and giveth again. This poem gave Gladys's strength. "Mommy, what's the news?" her 13-year-old daughter asked. Gladys took her daughter's hands in her own, looked at her innocent eyes. "It seems we have been left alone," she gently told her daughter, and then without a moment of forethought, she added, "But we will forgive them." You see, Gladys had just received notice that her husband and 2 sons had been burned alive as an intentional attack on the Christian community in a small village in India. A.D. 30, Jesus addressing his disciples with a great crowd listening, "But I say to you who hear, love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who are abusive to you." At that time, the Jews were under the thumb of the Roman Empire. They have been waiting for the Messiah. Jesus stands before them as the one that they believed was the Messiah, the one who they expected to redeem them from Rome. And Jesus tells them, love your enemies. With the examples he used in verse 29, whoever hits you on the cheek, offer him the other also. Whoever takes your cloak, give him your tunic too. Jesus is showing them that he does not want them to retreat or even fight back, but to give even more of themselves. Their expectation of the Messiah was to redeem them, and Jesus is telling them to give to everyone. He has turned redemption upside down. Rather than being redeemed, Jesus is showing how their actions become the redeeming grace of their enemies. You see, Jesus wanted his followers to put self-preservation aside in the relentless pursuit of giving what others need. A.D. 2021. We may not live under the thumb of a conquering monarchy. Some do. We may not live under the constant threat of bodily harm or violent persecution, but some do. We all have enemies. We all have people who curse us. We all face abuse in some form or fashion. We all face opposition and trials that to us, when in the thick of it, feels like an oppressive fire waiting to consume our souls. How should we respond? Run away or retreat? No, like a firefighter who puts his or her own safety at risk, run into the fire for the sole purpose to redeem a life, to pull that person out of a burning fire. By doing this, you fulfill the requirement to live selflessly, and by your actions, give others the love and mercy of God. Gladys stood on the platform and accepted the award for Indo-Australian Award in honor of her husband. She noted how easily his compassion spewed out to the people. She said, if someone was sick, he was there. Her husband stood apart. He stood out. He lived his everyday existence selflessly. The fireman stands in front of the burning building, considering his or her own safety, but throws that aside to run in and save a life. The fireman stands out. Jesus tells us to love our enemies because he himself is kind and merciful. His mercy stands out. These people stand apart. They stand out in a crowd. They live selflessly and sacrificially. for the good of others? Will you choose a life set apart by living a selfless, sacrificial life? It all starts with receiving God's mercy. Verse 36 exhorts us to be merciful, just as your Father is merciful. Receive God's mercy. Perhaps you know someone who you need to show God's mercy to. Come to the altar and receive God's mercy. Come to the altar and commit yourself to a life set apart. Come to the altar and commit yourself to be merciful. Commit yourself to love your enemies and pray for them. He giveth more grace as our burdens grow greater. He sendeth more strength as our labors increase. To added affliction, he addeth his mercy. To multiply trials, he multiplies peace. His love has no limits, his grace has no measure, his power no boundary known unto men. For out of his infinite riches in Jesus, he giveth and giveth and giveth again.